I would make this video for some reason. Computer crashed out or something. Make sure to like it, subscribe if you like the content, share widely. This article felt like it was worthy of sharing, titled "The Politics of Spectacle on Eviction Moratorium, the Squad Talks They Talk" by Danny Haifong. You might have seen his work at the Black Agenda Report or on the Left Blends YouTube channel. Definitely recommend his work highly. He also has a good book you should check out as well. Members of Congress departed for a 7-week vacation at the time that the CDC National Eviction Moratorium expired on July 31st. The Squad, a subset of members of the House of Reps who espouse Bernie Sanders' policy agenda, gathered at the Capitol building to demand that Congress come back to work and hold a vote to renew the moratorium. Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, and other Squad members slept on the Capitol steps overnight as part of the ongoing protests. Critics on social media pointed out that the rally was too late, was too little, too late, and while others remarked that the low attendance of the rally, compromised mainly political surrogates, rendered the action nothing more than a photo op for the Squad. Founder of Black Agenda Report, BAR, rest in peace, Glenn Ford died 3 days ago before the protests. Ford strongly opposed the politics of diversity, which privileged political representation over substantive policy demands and the popular power required to achieve them. So, like what we have now with, Biden in office, it's woke imperialism. The, drones, the Reaper drones raining, missiles down on, poor black and brown people all over the world. They're now going to have a pride and BLM flag on them, type of thing. He closely monitored the CBC to demonstrate that voting for elected officials who look and behave like their constituents does not necessarily equate to representation. Ford led BAR's effort to expose how the CBC, for example, voted large majorities to militarize U.S. police departments and enshrine their officers with protected class status under federal hate crime legislation. The Squad rose to prominence following Obama's 2-term presidency. Obama represented the pinnacle of diversity. Obama was famously touted as a victory in the long, hard struggle of black Americans for human rights, yet his admin greatly expanded the theater of U.S. war machine and enacted a broad policy agenda friendly to the rich. Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign emerged from an economic discontent once encapsulated by Occupy Wall Street, a protest movement that Obama's DHS and FBI brutally repressed at the tail end of his first term. And do people not really remember or recall that? Obama was in office, and then he coordinated the crackdown nationwide on all of these Occupy Wall Street movements that were happening in so many places across the country. That brutal repression they faced, direct result of Obama. And a pivot away from protests, an increasingly left-leaning Democratic Party base placed their energy into electing progressive members of Congress. Talking the walk. The Squad combines politics of diversity with the politics of spectacle. Unlike Obama, who openly chastised black Americans and separated himself from the left, the Squad professes to stand with working people and walk the walk. U.S. Reps Cori Bush and AOC frequently identify themselves as organizers in a bid to relate to their young left-leaning supporters. This was evident in their response to the expiration of the eviction moratorium, which has left more than 11 million Americans at risk of the eviction. And the numbers I've seen have been actually 15 million. So just, a crisis, a huge fucking crisis on our hands. The Squad took to the streets as organizers in the hours before the policy ended, despite offering little more than statements in the months leading up to July 31st. Again, everybody, especially if you're elected to politics on a national level, you should have fucking known that this was going to expire, and it looks a little bit like performative theater, literally waiting to the last day or two to try to put up a fight so this moratorium doesn't go away. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, maybe at least do this a week before, it would maybe look a little bit more genuine, right? Even worse, the squad has struggled just as much as the rest of the Dem Party to articulate just who is to blame for the negligence surrounding the eviction moratorium. Members of the squad have been hesitant to cast full blame for the crisis onto House Speaker Pelosi. Well, it's Mama Bear. We can't talk shit about Mama Bear, right? Or President Biden. AOC told journalist Chuck Modi that the Biden admin failed to respond to the Supreme Court order in June, indicating the need for congressional involvement until just days before the moratorium expired. This is quoting AOC, Chuck Modi. The House was caught off guard by the White House statement. There was some resistance in the House, and members literally started getting on planes. Okay, what play this time?
Here, because folks in all sorts of positions of leadership, from the White House to Congress and beyond, seem to be poised to allow the national eviction.
I mean, you're a part of Congress as well, a congressperson who has a very massive social media, following and presence, but it seems like you also waited to the last minute. So doesn't some of the blame rely on you and the squad as well? I think it does. God damn this thing. Alright, whoa. It's not letting me play. Let's see, let me press forward.
Emergency rental assistance has been actually released.
Okay.
Surging. As only 3 out of $46 billion in emergency rental assistance has been actually released to people to stay in.
So she's saying that rental assistance hasn't been released, a very small part, in case you couldn't hear. Fuck this thing, man.
They're not just adjourning and leaving town for a weekend, but they're about to leave town for 7 weeks as this moratorium expires tonight. And so we're out here today just joining and supporting everyday people who are showing up and saying, we need to come back and do our job and extend the moratorium.
So the critique that I've gotten in the last 24 hours is why today, why not earlier? What do you say to that when you hear that?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. First of all, there was a court order that came down a month ago from the court that told the White House that you all need to call on Congress to extend the eviction moratorium if you want to extend it. Now, with the
so was she aware of this court order and then just decided not to do anything along with everybody else within the Democratic Party in the House? Like, okay, you were aware of that, like, maybe put some fucking pressure on the higher ups to do something? I mean, Christ.
The White House did, frankly, was not issue a statement to call. They did not call on Congress for the entire month.
Okay, but you literally need, like, the Biden administration to, like, hold your hand and say, we got this court order, like, Congress needs to start doing things. Can you do that pretty please right now? Please do something. Please do something in the House so this doesn't, like, what the fuck? You literally not taking any responsibility for the inaction of herself and her colleagues in Congress. It's all the Biden administration not giving us the advice, the leadership, the guidance that we need on. I mean, Jesus Christ, take some responsibility.
Until the day before Congress was set.
Again, there's nothing about that would have prevented you, Pelosi, the squad, anybody else from trying to push this issue forward when you already knew this was going to happen. It's not all Joe Biden's fault. He's horrible as well, but there's plenty of fucking blame to go around, and some of it definitely, certainly lies on the Democrats and the squad in particular, I'd say.
Set to adjourn. And so the House was caught off guard completely by the White House's statement at the very last minute, an attempt to whip votes.
Okay, well, if you weren't getting any guidance from the White House until last minute, maybe don't wait until the last minute to get guidance. Maybe be a little bit more proactive, given that once this fucking moratorium expired, millions, if not tens of millions of people were potentially going to be kicked out of their fucking homes. We're still very much in a pandemic. So what a fucking bullshit excuse. I mean, pardon my language, but not really. Like, Jesus Christ, do better. Do better. It's disgusting.
There was some resistance in the House, and members literally started getting on planes.
Right.
Instead of voting to extend the moratorium. And so we're here to say, no. We need to come back, do our jobs.
Alright. Just more fucking bullshit. Cori Bush explained to journalist Max Blumenthal that she didn't know why Joe Biden had not issued an executive order. Crisis wasn't about Nancy Pelosi, but AOC's assertion the squad doesn't subscribe to a theory of change that posits one must be nice and powerful is seemingly at odds with their unwillingness to directly challenge Democratic Party leadership in a moment of crisis. Alright, was this one gonna play?
It's my office, but other offices too.
And have you gotten any help from Pelosi? Do you have any confidence in her ability to ram this through?
Yeah, it's not even, the thing is right now,
it's not about the speaker. It's not about Pelosi.
No, right now, we got 2.5, 3 hours. We need the president because we can't get Congress members right back here fast enough now in 2.5, 3 hours.
And then what would you say about the president?
We need the president right now with the CDC to go ahead and the president has done an executive order to get the extension done before. We need that to happen.
Why not? Why hasn't he done it? Why is he forcing this whole thing?
I don't know, but I know right now.
Because he's status quo Joe?
I don't know. So, well, one thing we have to remember is that the Supreme Court said that it's not on the White House to get this done, that it is on Congress. And so when
Congress didn't do anything. You and your colleagues completely dropped the ball in this. Like, obviously, it seems like they're aware of that decision, saying that this was going to be the last time that the CDC was able to extend this eviction moratorium. And that ruling was June 24th, so a whole 5 weeks before this eviction moratorium was set to expire. Everybody knew about it, and everybody now is, it's their fault. No, it's their fault. I mean, Jesus Christ. In truth, the squad has been more than amendable to the establishment wing of the Dem Party instead of participating in public protests over immigration policy, as was the case during the Trump admin. Not a whole lot of talk about kids in cages or the concentration camps now that the president has a D next to their name, is there? Oh, fucking Clarence. The squad has limited itself to sharp statements now that Biden is deporting undocumented immigrants at a rate far higher than the prior admin. Last year, AOC called Pelosi Mama Bear of the Democratic Party, despite the fact that majority support a third-party alternative to the current electoral duopoly. And not one member of the squad was willing to force a vote for Medicare for All during a deadly pandemic in exchange for their support Nancy Pelosi's bid for Speaker of the House. Squad's politics of spectacle. Such stark contradictions speak to the difference between political spectacle and political substance. Political spectacle feigns support for the interests of the working people, like they're doing with these, very last minute fight to try to extend this eviction moratorium with it, when they knew full well for at least 5 fucking weeks this was going to be the case come July 31st. That's fucking political spectacle. I.e. organizing a small protest to the eviction moratorium or tweeting daily about the ills facing the working class while failing to take the necessary action to ensure that the interests of the working people become a material reality. So again, you're in that position if you're actually an ally of the working class, if you're actually trying to improve the material conditions, particularly for the most vulnerable and marginalized among us, you're going to use that position of power and influence that you have, to speak truth to power, to try to hold Biden accountable, to try to hold Nancy Pelosi's feet to the fire, to get a floor vote for Medicare for All, or for calling out her inaction on not getting anything done with making sure this eviction moratorium was extended past July 31st. You didn't see them doing any of that, right? Millions are at risk of eviction in the middle of an economic recession and pandemic. More than 500 people at any given moment are homeless in a country with 17 million vacant homes, and I think that number is frankly pretty undercounted. Members of the squad were interested in substantive political action. They would use their leverage to force demands such as housing for all upon their colleagues and hold continuous rallies until these demands are met. Or how they were noticeably silent on those March for Medicare All events that were happening just a little over a week and a half ago all across the U.S. Or how, let's say, for example, AOC, once Biden got in office, she completely stopped talking and advocating for Medicare for all. The squad's so it's like he's going to get into their imperialism. The squad's loyalty to the politics of spectacle is further underscored when imperialism enters the debate. Imperialism is a litmus test for anyone who claims the title of left or radical. Completely agree. If you're not completely in support of anti-imperialism, if you're not a staunch anti-imperialist, you're not on the left, you're not radical, you're certainly not progressive. While AOC and the squad have cast votes against U.S. bloated military budget, they have failed to take issue on the issue of militarism, a priority issue. Numerous occasions, members of the squad have repeated State Department racist narratives about Venezuela, Syria, and other countries, China as well, targeted by U.S. sanctions and military interventions. AOC has even stood with the fascists responsible for the destructive coup in Bolivia. It was that when she was asked, I think, about that coup, or maybe it was Venezuela, she said, this was when Blumenthal was asking about it, she was like, I'll have to defer to party leadership. It's problematic. Crises reveal the true nature of social systems and governance that manage them. COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated that not even the most progressive elected officials in the U.S. are willing to do what is necessary to meet the needs of the people. Again, can't even fucking force a floor vote for Medicare for all during a pandemic. I mean, that really shows you how, the Democratic Party, again, is where social movements go to die, frankly. Millions are at risk of homelessness amid the spread of COVID-19's Delta variant, yet not one member of the squad has proposed freezing rent or seizing vacant housing stock from the banks to ensure everyone has a roof over their head. In the U.S., politics of spectacle reign supreme. Mass movements must build alternatives to the Democratic Party to strengthen the base of popular power moving forward. Completely agree. Danny Haiphong, activist and journalist in New York City area, contributing editor Black Agenda Report, co-host of The Left Lens, and co-editor Friends of Socialist China. Completely agree. Again, Democratic Party is where social movements go to die, where progress goes to die. Case in point, the squad, and them completely, just paying. Just wanting to, it seems like, just stay in the good graces of the Democratic Party leadership, Democratic Party elite, and not wanting to ruffle any feathers. So basically it's just go along to get along. We're not going to call you out by name. We're not going to try to speak truth to power. We're not going to hold your feet to the fire in any way because we want to, stay in your good graces. We want to get these committee assignments, whatever it may be. It's definitely clear that, once politicians, get into the Democratic Party, they get elected, they get in office, they go to D.C., it's where, we can basically, almost with, 100% certainty say that, well, that person is going to completely abandon, campaigning for Medicare for all or a Green New Deal or whatever it may be, because, again, this Democratic Party is the death of social movements. It's the death of progress. Obviously, Republican Party isn't any better. That's why we need to build power. We need to build, strong, diverse, working class coalitions outside of the corporate duopoly, and find strategies and initiatives in order to bring capital and these elites to their knees in order so they start listening to our demands and making sure the needs of the working people are met. Peace, much love. Clarence says goodbye as well. Like the video if you like the damn video. Subscribe for more content. Become a patron if you're so inclined. That's down there as well. Peace, much love.